Many people don't know this, but before Trump hired apprentices, he himself was an apprentice, and this movie serves as an origin story to Donald Trump. Whether you are supportive of the former and possibly future president of the United States or not, once you watch this movie, the consensus should be that Donald Trump is willing to do anything to win, and that could sometimes be on the immoral realm. The Apprentice is a Hollywood-styled biopic which explores Donald Trump's rise to power in 1980s New York. At the time, Trump was under the influence of right-wing attorney and political fixer Roy Cohn, who mentors him in the dark arts of winning. Look, if anyone's out there and is interested in making a movie about Roy Cohn, I would watch that movie. This guy is super interesting. Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, delivers a stellar performance as Donald Trump, and Succession star Jeremy Strong lived up to his name as Roy Cohn. Given the meta nature of this movie and the current times, it wasn't a surprise that no one wanted to be involved in this project. Abbasi, an Iranian-Danish filmmaker, was the brave one to put his hands up. Abbasi told Hollywood Reporter he assumed that Americans didn't have the balls to do this movie themselves, and he wasn't wrong either. He came on board for two reasons. He wanted to have a go, and he thought his outsider perspective would allow him to deliver the truth with clarity. The movie struggled to find a studio to support release in the US. People had objections to scenes in the movie, and just like in the movie, Trump's real-life lawyer took action. They filed a cease and desist letter threatening to sue the producer and distributors. The director had some things to say about this as well.
Everybody talks about him suing a lot of people. They don't talk about his success rate though, you know?
You may have heard other reviews call this movie dull, but this is far from the truth. Other reviewers are expecting the whole life of Trump to be presented to them on a platter, and that's just not the case. Look, we all know Trump's life is way too convoluted, and we would be sitting in the cinema for a week. And now for the pros and cons, starting with cons. Con number 1. A lot of people won't watch this movie because they will think it's a caricature of Trump, and they would be very inaccurate. This film humanizes Trump, which is a good and bad thing depending on who's watching. Con number 2. There is no text displaying the years going by in the story. It is, however, implied by the aging face makeup on Sebastian Stan's Trump, so it might be a little confusing for a few folks. Con number 3. It has a VHS aspect ratio, so it feels like an old TV, which I didn't mind at all, but some of you might. However, the storytelling is so good you may not even notice. And now, for the pros. Pro number 1. Now, this deserves repeating. Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump, his performance as Trump deserves a standing ovation. His mannerisms, facial expressions, his subtle gestures and body language. It was just phenomenal. He wasn't even doing a voice caricature of Trump. He did this in his own voice, and it still worked. That's how good he was. Pro number 2. We all know Jeremy Strong is a powerhouse of an actor, and he proved it again as Roy Cohn. We lost Jeremy in his character completely. Instead, he was immersed into the role of Cohn, Trump's lawyer, ruthless mentor, and sometimes friend. Pro number 3. The makeup artist and costume designers were another MVP on this film. The subtle work they did is phenomenal. Pro number 4. Now, believe it or not, this film aims to humanize Trump and Cohn, and you actually end up feeling for these two men, even though you know they are very immoral in their dealings, and that's kind of hard to do for any filmmaker. Pro number 5. Now, this is actually factual. Roy Cohn was gifted a pair of diamond cufflinks by Trump, but they were fake, and Trump knew that. But he figured since the guy is dying anyway, he wouldn't even notice. You can Google this. Bonus pro, but this is not addressed in the movie. The real Roy Cohn wanted to die owing the IRS an exorbitant amount of taxes, and he absolutely succeeded. The IRS repossessed everything he owned after death, except the fake diamonds from Trump because they were worth less. I'm gonna go ahead and rate this movie an outstanding and surprising 9.5 out of 10 because it came out of nowhere. I echo the 8-minute standing ovation this movie received at the premiere screening in Cannes. The movie took us on a journey. I almost found myself feeling sorry for Trump. The director and the cast did an amazing job. You should all go and watch this movie. It's fantastic.